Isn't it kind of mind-blowing thinking about people actually living to 112 years old? It sounds like something out of, I don't know, science fiction story almost.
It really does, but it's happening. And that's what we're digging into today.
Exactly. We've been looking at the lives, the habits of these, well, truly remarkable individuals who've hit that 112 mark.
People who haven't just gotten old, but have lived long and, importantly, often well.
Right. And our mission, if you will, is to see what connects them. What are the common threads in how they lived?
Because while luck and genes, they definitely play a role. You can't deny that.
Oh, for sure.
But the sources we looked at, they really point towards patterns. Shared habits, shared ways of thinking. It's less about just adding years and more about adding healthy years. A long health span.
A long health span. I like that.
Yeah.
So we're talking about real people like Gordy Gromov in Russia,
Yeah.
Sakari Momoy in Japan, Louis Jean Senior in New York.
Luigi Signor in Italy, Regina Bartlett, Kamio Aiko, all reaching 112.
And for you listening, think of this as maybe a shortcut, a way to get straight to the core ideas about living longer and healthier, based on those who've actually done it. We want to pull out the stuff you can actually use.
So let's get into it. What's the first big thing that that really stands out from their lives?
Movement. Definitely movement. It just kept coming up.
Yeah.
Like Louis Jean Senior, who was, I think, the second oldest person in New York, his big thing was walking every day.
He had that great quote, didn't he?
Yeah. Health is simple. You have to walk.
Yeah.
And don't worry. Just like that.
So simple, but profound. And walking, it's not just, burning a few calories. It's linked to heart health, mood.
Keeps your joints moving.
Right. And some research even suggests regular low-impact stuff like walking can help maintain health right down at the cellular level. Maybe even reduce that sort of low-grade inflammation that causes problems as we age.
And what's good is it seems adaptable. If walking isn't feasible for someone, the principle still holds.
Exactly. Our sources mention things like light stretching, even chair exercises. It's about finding some regular movement that works for you.
So maybe for you listening, the question is just,
Mm-hmm.
what's one small way to get a bit more active today or this week? Doesn't have to be huge.
Okay, so movement is key. What about what they eat? That's always a big topic.
It is. And again, some interesting similarities. Luigi Signor, the Italian gentleman, who also made it to 112. He was apparently a lifelong follower of a Mediterranean-style diet.
Ah, okay. So what did that look like for him specifically?
Well, the descriptions mention lots of olive oil, legumes, beans, lentils, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Plenty of fresh fruits and vegetables, fish in moderation, and only small amounts of meat.
Which really aligns with what we know about the benefits of that eating pattern. But interestingly, it sounds like it wasn't about strict rules or calorie counting.
No, not really. It seemed more intuitive. Eating what was fresh, what was available. Which, thinking historically,
Makes sense. Before refrigerators were everywhere, you ate fresh food because you had to, right?
yeah,
Less opportunity for highly processed stuff.
exactly. There's a kind of simplicity there again.
Yeah. So the takeaway for us now might be leaning back towards that. More whole foods, less processing, not necessarily a rigid diet, but just prioritizing, real food.
Okay, so we've got movement and simple fresh food.
Right.
But the sources also really hit home that it's not just the physical stuff. Mindset seems huge.
Oh, absolutely crucial. Across the board, you see this pattern of, a generally positive attitude and staying socially connected.
Like Regina Bartlett reading, talking with friends, keeping engaged.
Or Kamio Aiko in Japan, apparently still enjoying idol videos well past 100.
That's brilliant. It really highlights that you need both, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Keeping the brain working with stimulating activities.
Mm-hmm. Learning new things, staying curious.
And nurturing those emotional connections. That social side seems so important for staving off things like depression, which can really take a toll on health, especially later in life.
Which brings up that quite unusual story about the Korean woman.
Oh, right. The one who reportedly started smoking at 112.
Yeah, after moving into a nursing home. Now, it's just one anecdote, obviously not health advice.
Definitely not.
But it does make you wonder about maybe the importance of feeling like you still have some say in your own life.
Yeah.
That sense of autonomy even at that age. Maybe that feeling contributes to well-being, too.
That's a really interesting angle. So for you listening, it's not just eat your veggies, go for a walk. It's also about actively cultivating those positive connections, finding things you enjoy, keeping your mind lit up.
And then there's the environment they lived in. Another layer to consider.
Right. What came through there? Because obviously we can't all move to a remote village.
True, but there were common factors mentioned. Things like access to clean water, that was a big one.
Simple hydration.
Yep. And regular sun exposure, getting that vitamin D, which we know is vital for bones, immunity.
And often, life closer to nature maybe.
Hmm.
And food with less chemical processing.
Exactly. The water point was really emphasized, even using the example of cats getting sick if they don't drink enough.
Yeah.
It underlines how basic and essential it is for us, too.
So maybe it prompts you to think about, am I drinking enough water? Am I getting a bit of sunshine safely? Could I spend a little more time outdoors? Small things, maybe?
Then you have John Alfred Tenniswood, who became the world's oldest man at 112. His take was interesting.
What did he say?
When asked for a secret, he basically said, "It's just luck. There's nothing special."
Just luck.
Okay. But then you look at how his life was described. Unpretentious meals, a straightforward life, a regular routine.
So maybe his definition of nothing special is actually pointing towards that same theme again, simplicity.
I think so. While he puts it down to chance, his way of living, uncomplicated, balanced, seems to echo what we saw with others. It wasn't about extremes.
It suggests that maybe the secret isn't some hidden trick, but just living simply and consistently. So perhaps for you, it's worth asking, where can I simplify things a bit in my own life?
Which leads nicely into the idea of healthy longevity. The experts cited in our sources emphasize this. It's not just the number of years, it's the quality of those years.
Living well for longer.
Exactly. And based on that expert consensus and echoing the lives we've discussed, they suggest some pretty practical steps.
Okay, what are they? Let's make it really actionable.
All right. First, aim for about 30 minutes or more of daily movement. Walking is great, but any moderate exercise counts.
Okay, 30 minutes movement. Got it.
Second, cut back on processed foods. Focus on fresh veg. Simple shift, big impact.
More veg, less processed. Makes sense.
Third, hydration. Aim for at least, say, 1.5 liters of water daily. Maybe more, depending on you and the weather.
Drink your water. Check.
Fourth, get some sun. About 15 minutes a day if possible for that vitamin D, safely, of course.
Sun exposure. Okay.
Fifth, stay connected. Regular chats with family, friends, keep those bonds strong.
Social connection.
Crucial. And finally, maybe consider things like mindfulness or even just noting down things you're grateful for. Good for the mindset.
Right. So movement, good food, water, sun, connection, positive mindset. They sound doable. Not revolutionary, but consistently applied.
That's the key. They're achievable steps towards a healthier life, grounded in what seems to work for the long haul.
And this is where it gets really interesting. Some sources are even hinting that maybe 100 isn't the ceiling anymore.
Right. Suggesting it might become more like the new baseline, that we should perhaps start thinking about preparing for potentially 120 years.
Wow, 120. That really changes how you think about planning your life, your health, everything.
It does. And if that's even a remote possibility, then those 5 pillars we keep coming back to from the 112-year-olds.
Healthy eating, keeping active, positive mindset, connection with nature, social ties.
They become absolutely fundamental, don't they? A balanced life built on those seems like the most direct path, not just to more years, but more good years, more vitality.
So really, as we wrap up this deep dive, the big message isn't some complicated formula or expensive secret weapon.
Not at all. The wisdom from these incredibly long-lived people feels, well, surprisingly down to earth.
It really boils down to what the source is called. Fresh things, simple things, things you love.
That sums it up beautifully.
And maybe the lesson that isn't explicitly stated but feels present is about living fully now, in the present moment.
That's a great point. Enjoying the journey.
Which leads us to that final thought for you, the listener. Looking at all these simple, consistent habits, which one? Which single, seemingly small thing could you start doing, maybe even today, to begin building your own path towards a longer, healthier, and maybe even simpler future?
Just picking one thing to start with, that's often the most powerful step.